When we look up at the night sky, we are not merely gazing at stars. We are witnessing a story written across billions of years, a story that stretches beyond the grasp of our limited senses, beyond the comfort of our human imagination. The universe is not just a vast empty space dotted with suns. It is a living mystery, pulsating with intelligence, order, and silence. Cosmologist Bernard Carr has spent his life exploring these mysteries. He asks not only what the universe is, but also why it is. That why is not the question of a scientist alone, it is the question of every seeker, every being who has ever paused to wonder, what is my place in this cosmic dance? The universe is built with an elegance that no human mind can fully contain. Galaxies swirl like dancers, planets orbit in rhythm, light bends and curves through the dark fabric of space. If we look carefully, this is not chaos. This is intelligence. This is a design where every particle has its purpose, every silence has its echo. Yet, for all our telescopes and theories, the universe does not give away its secrets so easily. Why is there something rather than nothing? Why does consciousness arise in a body made of stardust? Why does the vastness out there somehow echo the vastness within us? These are not questions of astronomy alone. These are the questions that awaken us to dimensions of existence beyond matter and energy. Carr reminds us that exploring the universe is not only about looking outward. It is equally about turning inward. If infinity exists out there in the galaxies, it also exists here in the depths of our awareness. The same intelligence that moves the stars is throbbing in our heartbeat, breathing in our breath, sparkling in the silence of our mind. So, when we hear about dark matter and hidden dimensions, let us not think of them as cold scientific puzzles. Let us understand, what is hidden outside is also hidden inside. The real discovery is not only in laboratories or observatories, but in the clarity of our perception. If you want to know the universe, don't just measure its stars, awaken the light within you. For the true telescope is not just an instrument of glass and metal. The true telescope is consciousness itself. Through that, the mysteries of the cosmos are not solved, they are experienced. The invitation before us is simple yet profound, to see that the universe is not separate from us. We are not observers standing apart. We are participants in this grand play. Just as the ocean cannot be separated from its waves, we cannot be separated from the cosmos. We are the universe contemplating itself, and perhaps that is the greatest mystery of all. The universe has often been mistaken for an accident of chaos, a random scattering of matter in infinite space, a meaningless play of atoms colliding and dispersing without rhythm or reason. But if one simply looks with a little more care, with a little more openness, what begins to emerge is something profoundly different. Every star, every planet, every grain of dust floating between galaxies is not merely drifting without aim. There is an undeniable sense of order, an orchestration that binds the smallest particle to the largest galaxy, weaving them into a symphony so precise that even the slightest alteration would make life as we know it impossible. This is not the handiwork of chaos. This is intelligence at work, an intelligence so vast that the human mind can barely contain a glimpse of it. The distances between stars are not arbitrary. The gravitational pull that keeps planets in orbit is not a coincidence. The ratio of matter to energy, the delicate balance of forces that prevent the universe from collapsing in on itself or dissipating into nothingness, is so finely tuned that scientists themselves often describe it as improbable beyond measure. Yet improbability exists only when we assume randomness. What appears improbable is, in fact, a manifestation of a deeper order, one that does not bend to human notions of chance, but flows with a rhythm we have not yet fully understood. If we could listen to the movement of galaxies not with ears but with perception, we would hear music. Not sound as we know it, but a harmony of existence. Every atom vibrates with frequency. Every orbit marks a beat, Every supernova explodes not as an accident, but as a continuation of the great cosmic rhythm. To dismiss this as chaos is to mistake the intricate dance of waves for noise, simply because one has not yet learned to listen. The universe is not a disorderly crowd, it is a choir, each voice contributing to the vastness of the song. Look at the way a spiral galaxy forms, arms extending outward in exquisite curves that mirror the patterns found in seashells, whirlpools, and even the unfurling of ferns on Earth. What connects these forms? They are born of the same mathematical elegance, the same geometric principle that runs through creation at every level. The spiral is not the invention of human imagination. It is the signature of the cosmos, repeating itself in the heavens and in the smallest living cell. How then can we call it chaos, when the same patterns echo across scales of existence separated by billions of light years? This is not disorder, this is design. Even what we call emptiness, the vast stretches of dark space that seem void of meaning, are not truly empty. They are filled with potential, filled with unseen forces, with energies that shape and guide the visible. Dark matter, dark energy, names given by science when the mystery is too immense for explanation, are not signs of ignorance but signs of recognition that the unseen is as purposeful as the seen. Silence is not the absence of sound, it is the ground on which sound arises. In the same way, the dark canvas of space is not nothingness, but the backdrop on which the luminous brushstrokes of stars are painted. Every particle is bound by laws so consistent, so dependable, that we base our entire technology, our sciences, our very survival upon them. The fact that an apple falls to the ground, that fire burns, that water flows, all of this is because the universe does not waver in its order. If chaos ruled, nothing would hold, nothing would last, and certainly nothing conscious could emerge. That human beings exist to even ask these questions is itself testimony to the intelligence of creation. Consciousness is not a random side effect of matter, it is the flowering of a universe that has, from the beginning, been tending toward awareness. Consider the delicacy with which life on this planet has been nurtured. The distance of Earth from the Sun, neither too close nor too far, allows for liquid water. The balance of oxygen in the atmosphere allows us to breathe without burning. The tilt of the Earth gives us seasons, cycles that regulate growth and rest. If any of these were altered slightly, life would not survive. This balance is not a careless arrangement, it is precision. It is purpose. To see it as chaos is to overlook the obvious truth, that intelligence pervades every thread of existence. When one contemplates the particles that form the human body, it becomes even clearer. The iron in our blood was forged in the heart of ancient stars that exploded long before the earth was born. The calcium in our bones was shaped in cosmic furnaces billions of years ago. The very breath we take is exchanged with the trees, who in turn live by the light of the sun, which itself is powered by the same nuclear fusion that lights distant stars. How can we say we are separate from the universe when every element of our being is stitched together from its fabric? We are not bystanders in a meaningless expanse. We are living expressions of its intelligence. Even time, which we often treat as a straight line, reveals intelligence when examined deeply. The unfolding of events is not random but sequential, woven into patterns of cause and effect that allow us to learn, to grow, to evolve. What appears as coincidence often turns out to be connection, threads weaving unseen yet undeniable. The more one becomes attentive, the more one notices that life does not simply happen. It arranges itself with meaning, with symmetry, with elegance. To dismiss the universe as chaos is to dismiss the miracle of existence. Every silence has its echo, every particle has its purpose, every movement is part of a larger choreography. It is only the limitation of human perception that blinds us to the order that is always present. When the mind quiets, when attention deepens, What was mistaken for chaos reveals itself as harmony. What seemed random shines as intelligence. The universe is not a broken puzzle waiting to be fixed. It is a complete symphony waiting to be heard. Exploring the cosmos outward has always been the fascination of humanity. From the time the first human being looked up and wondered at the stars, we have been trying to measure, map, and explain what lies beyond our small blue planet. We have built telescopes that pierce through the night sky, instruments that detect invisible waves of light, machines that ride on rockets and reach the farthest edges of our solar system. The curiosity to know what is out there has driven science, philosophy, and even spirituality. But there is a profound truth that is often overlooked. No matter how far we reach outward, the exploration will always remain incomplete unless we also learn to explore inward. The vastness above and around us is mirrored in the vastness within us, and without turning to that inner dimension, the universe will always remain only half known. Every galaxy that stretches across the night sky is not separate from us. The elements that form its stars are the same elements that flow through our blood. The silence that hangs between galaxies is the same silence that exists between our thoughts. To look outward and marvel at infinity while ignoring the infinity within is like studying the reflection in a mirror while forgetting to look at the one who is being reflected. The outward universe is magnificent, but its true significance becomes apparent only when we realize that the same patterns, the same laws, the same intelligence that governs the cosmos also shapes our own consciousness. The journey outward has given us many answers: how planets form, how stars are born, how galaxies evolve. But it has also brought us to questions that science alone cannot solve. Where does consciousness come from? Why does awareness exist at all? How does the human mind, made of the same stardust as rocks and soil, experience wonder, love, fear, and imagination? These questions turn the telescope back toward ourselves. If we wish to understand the totality of the universe, we must recognize that the observer is not separate from the observed. The one who measures the stars is himself a part of the cosmos. His mind, his awareness, his capacity to question are not accidents. They are the flowering of the same universal fabric. When we explore within, we begin to see that our inner landscape is no less vast than the outer one. Thoughts rise and fade like galaxies appearing and disappearing across time. Memories are like constellations, points of light connected into patterns that shape our perception of reality. Emotions flow like tides, waxing and waning, driven by unseen gravitational pulls. Consciousness itself is like space, limitless, formless, yet holding everything within it. The more we explore inward, the more we discover that the infinite we seek in the sky is already present here, in the depths of our awareness. The astronomer uses a telescope to study the stars. The seeker of inner truth uses stillness to study the self. Both are acts of exploration, but the difference lies in direction. Outward exploration gives us knowledge about phenomena. Inward exploration gives us experience of being. Outward, we discover laws of physics. Inward, we discover the essence of perception. Outward, we measure distances in light years. Inward, we measure silence in timelessness. When these two forms of exploration meet, a fuller picture of existence emerges, one where the cosmos is not a cold, distant expanse, but a living continuum of which we are inseparable expressions. It is not enough to know that galaxies spin or that black holes warp space-time. What meaning does this hold unless we realize that the same intelligence responsible for those grand phenomena is also the intelligence that allows us to think, to feel, to breathe? Without the inner journey, the outer journey risks becoming just an accumulation of facts. With the inner journey, those facts transform into living truths, because we begin to see ourselves not as isolated fragments, but as integral parts of a cosmic wholeness. The outward search and the inward search are not opposites, They are complements. One without the other is incomplete. To explore only outward is like knowing the waves of the ocean but never sensing the depth beneath. To explore only inward is like closing the eyes to the vast expanse of creation and pretending it does not exist. The harmony lies in recognizing that both journeys are reflections of the same impulse, the impulse of consciousness to know itself. The stars shine not only in the sky, but also in the mind that perceives them. Infinity exists not only in the galaxies, but also in the silence of the heart. When we look outward through science, we see the magnificence of the cosmos. When we look inward through awareness, we see the magnificence of being. Both are windows into the same mystery, two paths leading to the same realization. The universe is not just spread across unimaginable distances, it is also alive within every breath, every thought, every moment of presence. To ignore one for the other is to miss the symmetry, the reflection, the completion that comes when both journeys are embraced. The great challenge of our time is not merely to explore more stars, build larger telescopes, or send missions farther into space. The greater challenge is to balance that outward adventure with the inward one. Because as long as we remain strangers to ourselves, no amount of knowledge about the galaxies will give us true understanding. Only when the two explorations meet, when the telescope of the scientist and the stillness of the seeker gaze together, does the universe reveal itself not as something to be studied, but as something to be lived. We often imagine ourselves as separate observers of the universe, standing apart from its vastness, trying to decode its secrets as though it were something external, something distant. We look at stars as though they are out there, and we are in here. This sense of division is comforting for the mind, because it allows us to think of ourselves as individuals gazing at something foreign. But this is not the reality. The truth is that we are not separate observers of the cosmos. We are the cosmos itself, contemplating its own existence through the lens of human consciousness. The very elements that form our bodies are born in stars. The iron in our blood was forged in stellar furnaces billions of years ago. The oxygen we breathe is a product of cosmic cycles that began long before the earth took shape. Every cell, every molecule, every atom that makes us what we are is stitched together from the same material that glows in distant galaxies. To imagine ourselves as outsiders looking in is to forget our own origin. We are not standing apart from the universe, studying it as a subject of curiosity. We are the universe that has reached a stage where it can reflect on itself. This shift in perception changes everything. If we think of the universe as separate, then our exploration of it is purely intellectual, a detached exercise of observation and analysis. But if we realize that we are part of the very fabric we are exploring, the act of discovery becomes intimate. The galaxies are not distant objects, but extensions of the same reality that beats within our chest. The black holes are not alien phenomena, but expressions of the same laws that govern our own being. The cosmic dance is not something happening out there. It is also happening here, in the space of our awareness. When we look up at the stars, it is easy to feel small, to feel like an insignificant speck in an endless sea of matter and energy. But that sense of smallness comes only when we see ourselves as separate. If we recognize that the very consciousness through which we gaze is not apart from the cosmos, then the picture changes. The vastness of the universe does not diminish us, it magnifies us. Because within this tiny human frame exists the ability to comprehend, to wonder, to reflect. The galaxies may be billions of light years wide, but they do not wonder about themselves. A black hole may bend space and time, but it does not ask why it exists. That capacity arises only here, in human awareness. This does not mean we are more important than the stars, or that the cosmos exists for us. It means that we are an expression of the same intelligence that governs the galaxies, and in us that intelligence has taken the form of self-reflection. The universe is not just expanding outward, It is also expanding inward, into awareness, into understanding, into the capacity to contemplate its own existence. When we look at the stars, it is the cosmos looking at itself. When we ask questions about time, space, and origin, it is the universe turning its gaze inward to seek its own essence. The great illusion is the sense of separation. We build boundaries with our thoughts. This is me, that is the universe. This is the observer, that is the observed. But these divisions are only constructs of the mind. In reality, there is no such line. The same forces that hold galaxies together are holding us together. The same patterns that shape spiral galaxies shape the patterns of life on this planet. The laws that govern the vast cosmic web also govern the firing of neurons in our brain. To see ourselves as separate is to deny the obvious. We are the cosmos, arranged in a form that allows perception and experience. When this realization deepens, our way of living changes. We no longer approach the universe as though it were an object to be conquered or explained. We approach it as though it were our own being, vast and mysterious, unfolding in endless ways. Every discovery, every new insight into the nature of reality becomes personal, because the one who is discovering is not apart from what is discovered. The expansion of knowledge is not the story of humans learning about a separate cosmos. It is the story of the universe awakening to its own depths, step by step, moment by moment, through us.